special forces are supposed to be the best of the best. But in Arma Reforger, are they actually smarter, or are they just soldiers with better gear? I decided to run them through a series of tests to find out whether they're truly elite or just a complete bunch of idiots. Let's find out. Hey gamers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be conducting a series of tests to see how elite Arma Reforger's special AI units really are. But before we get into the action, I do just want to take a quick moment to thank all of my recent subscribers for joining the Crispy crew. Your support really means a lot and it is greatly appreciated. Also, don't forget, if you do want to be a part of the crew, feel free to join the Discord community in my description below. We're slowly growing and there's a bunch of great people already in there who play a range of games. So if you're looking to squad up, drop in and say hi. Alright, with that out of the way, let's jump into today's video. We're going to be putting the Special Forces AI units to the test. I've got a few tests lined up to compare their performance against regular AI squads, and we'll see if they actually operate any differently. I'll be focusing on a few key things today, such as, do they use cover, or do they just run in like headless chickens? Do they maneuver into better positions, or do they just stand there returning fire? How long do they take to complete objectives? And of course, how many casualties do they sustain along the way? To test this, I'm going to run 4 different scenarios, and we'll start off with the first one, which will be assaulting an enemy position. Okay, so before we start the first test, let's just cover a few ground rules. I'm going to have the Special Forces AI and the regular AI perform the exact same task. They'll be attacking an enemy position defended by a single AI rifle squad, and the idea is to see how the two groups approach the same mission and how they differ in their tactics. So first up, let's take a look with the regular AI and see how they handle the situation. We'll get them into position and see how they go. Alright, so in order to make this as fair as possible, first I'm going to give a defend order to the enemy squad, instructing them to hold their position at the location. This should set up a proper defense for both sides to test against. Next, I'm going to spawn in a squad in the tree line here, and to keep things balanced, we'll be matching the teams. The Special Forces squad consists of 6 members. But for the regular AI, I'll spawn a standard fire team of 4 and then add 2 extra riflemen to make it even. This way, both teams will be relatively equal in size and strength, just different in their tactics and capabilities. So with everyone in position, let's begin the test. Well, that didn't exactly go too well for our regular AI. It took them about a minute 20 seconds to get absolutely smoked by the Russians, most of the squad getting wiped out instantly with a couple of soldiers knocked down, who were quickly finished off once they came to their senses. So yeah, not the greatest performance there. But now let's see how our Special Forces unit handles the same task. I'm going to reload the scenario and we're going to run the exact same test, but with the Special Forces squad leading the charge. Will they perform any better under the same conditions? Let's find out. Well, it looks like our special forces didn't exactly shine the brightest either. They did last a little bit longer than our standard squad, surviving around 1 minute and 50 seconds, and they did manage to inflict an extra casualty on the Russians. So technically they came out on top this time. Interestingly, our special forces squad still made some questionable decisions. In fact, they chose to cross the open field, which as we know is a risky move, whilst our regular AI squad opted to move through the tree line and up the road. However, the special forces tended to use the cover a little bit better, as opposed to the standard squad that just went running and gunning. In the end though, both teams got absolutely smoked by a standard squad of Russians, but if we had to pick a winner, we'll give it to the special forces on this one. Alright, moving on to test number 2, and this time we're flipping the script. Instead of attacking, we're going to be seeing how well our regular and special forces squads can hold their ground in a defensive scenario. So let's start with the regular AI and see how they defend against an enemy assault. We've got the exact same setup as before. The Russians will be assaulting the position this time, and our regular AI squad will have to hold their ground and defend. Let's see how they go. Alright, so of course we sped that up a little there just to save you sitting through the whole thing, but long story short, our regular squad lasted around 5 minutes before they were ultimately overwhelmed. Despite one survivor hanging on to the end, there was no way he would have been able to hold off the entire enemy force on his own, and in terms of damage they only managed to take out 2 of the enemy squad members. Not exactly impressive. So let's see if our special forces can go one better in this defensive situation. Same setup, same enemy assault. Let's see if the elite AI can hold a better line than our regular squad. Once again, just for ease of viewing, I have sped up some elements here so you didn't have to sit through the entire thing. However, when comparing the performance, our Special Forces unit was far from impressive. They lasted about half the time of our regular AI squad and were eventually wiped out. Honestly, they would have even been eliminated faster if it wasn't for the garage wall keeping our last member out of sight. So for this round, the regular squad takes the win. Alright, let's move on to the third challenge and see how our squads perform in an open combat zone. For this test, both squads will face off against an enemy presence in a wide open area with absolutely no cover. We'll focus on 3 key things here. Firstly, how long it takes them to complete the task, how many casualties they sustain, and whether they use their brains to find cover when necessary. As always, let's kick things off with our regular squad. So a nice even contest on this one. Our regular squad managed to complete the task in about 1 minute and 20 seconds, though they did take 4 casualties along the way. They didn't actively seek cover, but they did go prone to minimise their exposure and make themselves smaller targets. Now let's rerun the challenge, this time with our special forces. Well, an extremely embarrassing result for the Special Forces. They only lasted around a minute before being completely wiped out by the Russians, and in that time they only managed to take out one enemy. And they didn't find any cover, meaning that our regular forces win this round. Alright, let's move on to the fourth and final challenge, Close Quarters Combat. For this challenge, we'll place our 6 AI individuals in various rooms on both the first and second floors of the building. The task for our squads is to clear the building of all enemy presence to complete the challenge. As always, we'll be measuring their performance based on how long it takes them and how many casualties they sustain. So let's begin with our regular forces. So our regular squad ended up completing the task in about 4 minutes and 15 seconds, though most of the fighting ended up happening outside the building I placed them in, but unfortunately I can't control the AI's decision making. Along the way they sustained 4 casualties. So let's see if our Special Forces unit can step it up and bring things to a tie. And once again our Special Forces unit fails to deliver. After just 2 minutes on the clock, all of them are eliminated, with only one Russian surviving to report back to his comrades. This means our regular forces take the win in round 4, concluding the series with a 3-1 victory. So in summary, I think it's safe to say that the Special Forces really aren't that special. If you're playing with them, don't rely on them too much, and if you're up against them, well, based on these challenges, you've got nothing to fear. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, keep it crispy, and I'll see you in the next one.